Example, use the z-table to solve. The mean weight of newborn infants is 7 pounds and the standard deviation is 0.8 pounds. A weight of less than 5.5 pounds is associated with greater incidence of health problems and other long-term effects. If the weights of newborns are normally distributed, what percent of newborn babies will weigh less than 5.5 pounds? To use the z-table, we'll need to use the z-score formula, which is z equals data item minus mean divided by standard deviation. The question is asking about newborn babies weighing less than 5.5 pounds, so the data item is the 5.5 pounds. The mean, it says, is 7 pounds, and the standard deviation is 0.8 pounds. So substituting those numbers into the formula, we get 5.5 minus 7 divided by 0.8. Subtracting on the top gives us negative 1.5 divided by 0.8. If we divide that on a calculator, we get negative 1.875. We'll be looking up that z-score on the table, but remember our rounding guidelines. The exact z-score of negative 1.875 is not going to be in the table, so we're going to have to use these guidelines. First, round the z-score to 2 decimal places. Rounding to 2 decimal places gives us negative 1.88. Now we need to find the z-score on the table that's closest to z equals negative 1.88. So the area of the table we need to look, negative 1.88 would be somewhere in this region, so we want to find the one that's closest to negative 1.88. So the two that would be closest would be negative 1.9 or negative 1.8, and we want to know which one is closer to negative 1.88. If you're not sure, one thing that might help you is if you add a 0 to each one so that you're thinking of it as negative 1.80 and negative 1.90, then negative 1.88 is closer to negative 1.90. So this is the line of the table that we need. So let's copy that line of the table onto our paper, and I'd like you to do this on your papers too. Copy the z-score and percentile and just that line of the table that you're going to need. Then our rounding guidelines say to round your final percent answer to the nearest whole number. Well, rounding 2.87 to the nearest whole number would be 3%, but now our question is whether the answer is 3% or if we're going to have to subtract it from 100%, because sometimes we do that. So what determines that is what exactly the question is asking, and in this case, it's asking the percent that is less than 5.5 pounds. That is the definition of percentile, the percent that is less than the specified data item. So in this case, the 3% is the answer that we want. So our final answer that we'll box in is 3%.